We walk around like we own this place, like we own this place. We walk around like we own this place, like we own this place. We look around like we on our way, like we on our way. Don't worry about us, cause we on our way, cause we on our way.
How you doing?
I'm good. Nervous.
Excited?
Really excited.
Place that we own.
I thought it would be nice to kind of go around the room, so if you ladies don't mind, let's just for 1 second, just kind of introduce yourselves.
My name is Lourdes, everyone, and I am a lifestyle blogger who focuses a lot on travel. I've been blogging for like 2 to 3 years. I freelance on the side and do social media for a PR agency. So, great to meet you all.
Hi you guys, my name is Brittany. I'm from Maryland and I have a fashion blog, a YouTube channel, and I am currently interested in starting my own boutique. I also work for Homeland Security, so it's very difficult.
Talk about serious.
So it's kind of difficult right now trying to find that balance and also try to be a girl boss like you guys. So I'm very excited to learn from you and I'm excited to be here.
I am not a blogger. I'm not an entrepreneur. I am nothing of what you accomplished ladies are yet. That's why I'm here. For the greater part of my life, I worked in corporate America as an executive assistant, just following that rat race. So I need a job, I got to pay the bills. And I got married, we moved to Pennsylvania out of New York City, and we raised 2 kids. I have an 18-year-old and 21-year-old that are headed to college or in college. And so I pulled out my life list, I dusted that baby off, and I said, no.
They don't wanna see me do my thing, they just wanna hate on everything I do. But I came right through and made them all bounce like a kangaroo, like a kangaroo. All of these leeches, all of these pairs.
This passion project of mine to kind of get women together that, really inspire each other and kind of go after our dreams, and hopefully you guys learn something from these beautiful, amazing, inspiring women that are here to kind of not only talk about their journey, but really answer some questions that I think you all have. Please feel free to kind of chime in. It's a conversation. This is a safe zone. I hope everybody feels comfortable that they can talk, ask whatever questions, because that's what we're here for. Cool? All right. Let me get my phone, and then I'm not going to do the introductions. I'm going to let them do themselves to give you a little background. But before they start, this is Eunice. Hi. This is Angelise. Hello. And this is Denise.
Hi, my name is Eunice, and let's see. I've probably worked in like every single industry known to mankind. I started my career in finance, and then from there I actually went to work in intimate apparel, which is a very strange transition, but it made sense at the time. And that's where I really started to dabble in entrepreneurship and started to learn a little bit more about what it's like to grow businesses. And it was a really safe place to do it because it was a big company. But from that point on, I said, hey, might as well bet on myself. I went and started a startup in the city called Archetypes, did that for about 2.5 years, and then just started exploring. I worked at a couple of different startups, had the pleasure of meeting this lovely lady when I went back to corporate America, where I was the head of digital for a multi-billion-dollar brand beauty company. And then about a week and a half ago said, I'm gonna bet on myself again. I left and I just got my startup funded. So I'm going to be building a kitchenware brand, which I'm really excited about.
Hey, turn me on some, let me come alive. It's a rap, got you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Angelise with a Y that sounds like a G. And I'm really thrilled to be here with you all this morning. And so my day job is in corporate America. I work at Prudential Financial right here in the city of Newark. And I'm in diversity recruiting, which is a job that is personally really important to me. In my role, I help to connect more women and people of color and veterans to opportunities at Prudential, which is a purpose-driven company, right? They're a company that was started in New Jersey, born and raised over 140 years ago to help people find financial freedom and have financial stability. And that's a mission that I can get behind, right? Like, that's really important work. They're a purpose-driven company. They spend a lot of billions of dollars in social impact projects. It's a company that I've been there almost 2 years, and they really value me as an employee. So it's work that's personally really important to me, and I love it. But It's, you know, I felt like something was missing because I'm a creative at heart. I'm an entrepreneur. I used to have a wedding planning business with my college best friend, but her husband's job took them to California, and then she had twin boys. And so, you know, we stopped doing the wedding planning. And so I felt like something was missing for me. And in December of last year, I decided to launch a blog called Create, Connect, Celebrate, where I blog about adventures, and I use that sort of loosely. To me, an adventure could be anything that pushes you outside of your comfort zone.
The fuck is mummified? You see me coming up, and got them numb inside. I see dread in their eyes at the front of shot.
I don't even know how to follow up.
Oh, stop.
First of all, you guys look stunning. Let's give yourselves a round of applause.
Woo!
So beautiful. Look at all this femme magic.
Yes, I like that.
So, okay, so a lot of you guys know me as Denise or Thug Nanny, because no one knows my real name ever. But I am a photographer, and I'm also a nanny. So nannying is like my day gig, and photography is what I do full time. And I started about 7 years ago. I was telling Eunice I was working at a gallery in Chelsea, and this like big portrait of a thumb sold for $75,000, and I was so pissed. I was like, I'm serving cheese and wine to these bougie people for like $7.50 an hour. It cost me like $15 just to get here. And I'm like, I'm not doing this. So I got like my first like big income tax return, and I went on Craigslist and I bought a camera, and I like forced all of my friends to like pose for me, and I was like, all right, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna go out to like the forest, and then, you know, I was telling them right now I have 5 publications on stands, and that's really exciting.
They don't wanna see me do my thing. They just wanna hate on everything I do. But I came right through and made them all bounce like a kangaroo, like a kangaroo.
Most of us clearly are entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs, bloggers, YouTubers, and so on. So from your own expertise, what do you believe is the best way to grow our businesses, especially for a lot of them who are bloggers, YouTubers, including myself, in such what we consider like a saturated market?
So I can answer. I'm going to take a bit of a businessy approach to it, because my last job before I started my own company I was the head of digital for a big beauty company. So I was always looking at influencers, different digital strategies, you know, who should we be partnering our brands with, etc. So I'm going to take a little bit of a different spin on it for that reason. I think the biggest thing, and Denise spoke a little bit about this, is from a brand perspective, we were always going through and really trying to suss out, you know, was this person really being authentic? Did they have a real voice? And there's a distinction in my mind, and Sheryl Sandberg, I'm going to talk about her again. She talked about this a couple weeks ago in an interview, that so many people focus on a personal brand. And they're like, okay, well, I need to work on a personal brand. And in this interview, she said, but at the end of the day, people don't have brands. She's like, you don't think about it as brands. Toothpaste have brands. Lipstick has a brand, right? It's manufactured, there's a package to it. And she goes on to say that at the end of the day, we have to tap into our voice. And that's really what comes across loud and clear. And that's what we would look for from a brand perspective is, yes, you look at some of the metrics like, okay, how engaged are these followers? When they're talking about brands and doing brand integrations, how authentic are they? But at the end of the day, it was, if you could tell that that person's voice came in loud and clear, that's what the community was responding to. It wasn't necessarily because there was a hashtag ad or a hashtag sponsored. Like, that shouldn't make a difference if someone is doing it right and is being discerning and saying no to the brands that didn't work for their community and saying yes to the brands that really allowed them to use their own voice. And that takes discipline, so sometimes you get some brand marketers that are like, I'm just gonna look at numbers and that's it. But when we hit it, I think, out of the park, it was really where we took the time to go in and understand the person who was behind that account and see whether or not they would actually help us with our campaign and our clear message. So, I mean, I think that's really, from my perspective, what we saw day in and day out when we were looking at folks like you and trying to partner with you guys.
Do you ladies have any questions, comments? Yes,
I do. I was just really connected. I guess when I first started speaking, I didn't know what to say. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to say. So, I mean, on my profile, I have like find your authentic voice, and I think I'm trying to find that. So like when you talk about mental health, because I struggle with mental health, is just talking about it for me is like I have it in little ways, but I feel like I'm not truly being my authentic self when it comes to like certain topics that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have so much to offer when it comes to like being in the industry, like of acting and modeling, and you know, trying to build a brand, you know, around that, you know, because I don't want it to be a focus, because there's so many other things that I'm capable of doing besides, you know, my mental health. Like that's not like a crutch for me.
Right.
You know? And as a business owner, I started a business over 6 months ago, and I've flourished a lot, you know, and mental health illness or not. And I would like for people to know that you can do anything you put your mind to.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what I love about Jacqueline's blog is that, you know, she really pushes that. Like, we can do things. You know, I didn't know that, I didn't have a name for what I felt for years until I started asking questions and until other people started being transparent. And I was like, wait, I don't want to get out of bed either. And it's not because I'm tired, it's because I literally just like physically am paralyzed because I feel so like, my life is great, but I'm so sad. I have no idea why. You know, I love what I do, but I'm not looking forward to going to the shoot. I don't want to see this person. And I love this person. This is my favorite person ever. You know, and I think just like seeing other people talk about it was so important.
All of these leeches, all of these parasites got me laying real low like I'm scared of heights.
And just to piggyback off of that, I think there's something so powerful about just sharing your journey with people. Like, one of the challenges for me is like the whole imposter syndrome. It's like, well, what makes me so special? Like, my story is not that unique. Like, other people have struggled through this too. But you don't realize how empowering it is to share your journey, because you're giving other people the sort of authority to do the same and to relate to you, because you think you're alone in this, and whatever it is, mental illness, or, you know, being somebody who has issues with weight, or, you know, somebody who, I don't know, is victim to stereotype threat, all of these things, right? Like, you think sometimes that you're the only one, but there's so many other people who are struggling with the same thing, and we don't talk about it, but when you do, it gives other people the opportunity to be vulnerable as well. And I have found that there's power in vulnerability. Like, the more you put yourself out there, you know, that's how you build community. That's how you build authenticity. That's how you build that like girl bond, I feel like, you know?
As women, because I feel like, even for me, I feel like I'm asking the question because I want to know the answer. We face so many challenges, amongst them being taken seriously. Sometimes I've, you know, in my experience, have gone to the table and I wouldn't say been laughed at, but I certainly have been like, yeah, no, you don't know what you're talking about. And so how do you kind of push through that? Like, how do you take a seat at your own table and kind of command, you know, that you be taken seriously?
That's a good question. It's a timely question because, you know, going through the fundraising process when you're trying to get people to invest in your company is really challenging. I think in the last year, 4% of all of funds actually went to a female-founded company, which is insane. So you think about 96% of the dollars went to a male-founded company, and to me, that was like, that gave fire in my belly to be like, no way. Like, I am not going to be playing a game where I'm walking in and someone's thinking immediately when they see me, oh, she's a woman, her idea is not going to be that great, right? So I think for me, I know, but I think it's really channeling that that kind of that power to know that you can do it, and like I don't even ask for anyone's permission, and I think that's something that has really.
I really like when like people talk about the table, because I wrote an article for Lady Hustle Mag, which I'm also editor-in-chief of. I forgot to mention that. And so the biggest job like that I've ever had, the best paying campaign that I've ever had, which was $25,000. It was about 2 years ago. And they were like these two, you know, like middle-aged white guys sitting across from me, and made me like take an Uber to New York City at like 8 o'clock in the morning. And I'm sitting there, and they're like, so why should we give you this campaign? Like, why should we put you on this campaign? You know, as a photographer, like, what do you bring to the table? And I don't know what I drank that morning. I don't know what, like, I do not know what possessed me, but I literally looked at him like he was the dumbest person ever. And I was like, I am the table. questions after that. He was like, you got the job.
You have to defend yourself at all times. I mean, only you know what you're worth, and if you don't value yourself, people will catch on immediately.
When I told Kathleen how much I was charging for I was going full-time on the blog, and it wasn't because I was like making the money to go full-time, but I was just like sacrificing and sort of like went on, and you know, I wanted to save my business. And when I told Denise and her, it was like the same night, it was like different places. We were in person and then we were talking to Denise, and I told her how much I was charging. She almost had a heart attack at Italy. Almost had a heart attack. And since that moment, I feel like it was so inspiring, and I feel like, you know what, I'm going to build my business. I'm going to say no to a lot of, I don't collaborate at all. Like, I really don't. I'm spending a lot of money on my business, but I feel like I'd rather do that than say yes to brands if they're not going to like know my worth, or if I'm going to, even if they pay me the amount I want, but it's a brand that I'm like, it's not really my mission or who I am, I'm just going to say no. I'll take the loss, and like in a few years, I'll know, you know, it was worth it. So I'm literally proof of that whole conversation.
And I think it starts with things like this. I'm such a believer in like grassroots stuff where it is organic. It is people getting together, and you know, I never was sitting at my desk being like, oh, I can't wait to come up with a business plan that I'm gonna go get funding on. Like it doesn't happen like that, right? Like I think it really comes from being inspired by the people around you, and then going and using your connections and using your networks. And we lucked out because, you know, we have male investors, but they're not male investors who look at me and say, you're a woman, and I'm funding you because you're a woman. And that is a huge thing, because there's this movement right now where people do want to change the numbers, right? And so sometimes, you know, you get investors who say, oh, well, so maybe you can go into my little, like, I'm doing good for, you know, like I'm doing some good in the world. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be in that pile. I'm going to be in the, like, we're going to be the rock stars, and you're going to be making money off of us because we're going to go out and kill it, right? So, like, I think part of it, like, it just goes back to, like, I don't apologize for it, and I don't try and ask for favors, but I will always, 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 like, spend time with whoever wants to. They could be small, they could be large. They will get the same amount of attention from me, and it goes back to, I think, having that authentic connection with people and relying on communities like this to, like, let's help each other. And, you know, again, like, and this offer stands for anyone. Like, I love starting businesses, so if you want to, like, sit and talk and go through, like, how do you go through the fundraising? What does that even mean? Like, what does it mean to get investors? What are some of the watch-outs? Like, I'm more than happy to do that, because someone did that for me, and some, you know, people sat me down and said, hey, when you're talking to investors, these are the things you should not give up. You know, you should always fight for. And then these are the things that, you know, maybe it's okay to relinquish. So it's you know, it's people like this, it's, you know, events like this where you make these connections.
If I could just chime in though, and a little bit of a devil's advocate perspective, as somebody who's like newer to this, I think that if I reach out to somebody like you, like I probably have like 200, 300 followers, you might think, oh, she wants something from me. So I think it's about balancing and going back to the point, like how do we mobilize and empower each other? So I think, yes, absolutely, you have to know your worth and claim it, but I think you also kind of have to take a step back and see who the person is. You might not know them, you might not be friends with them or have a relationship to be able to make that call and say, oh, you know, this person is somebody who I don't have to think about exploiting me, whereas this person that I don't know at all is reaching out randomly, like, do I want to spend my time with them? I think it's about balancing those things. You mentioned that, right? But just to reiterate the point that in order to mobilize and to empower each other, you do have to take those chances and have those one-up coffees that you're not going to get anything out of, because that's how you help other people grow, and you mobilize and you create the community and help other people get on platforms and on spaces that, like, you struggled through, because somebody took a chance on you, so you have to take not a lot of chances because you don't want to be taken advantage of, but you know, it's about balancing that out, because not everybody has that intention. Like, I might have really curious conversation with you to get insights. That doesn't mean that I have ill intent, you know, where somebody else might have an ill intent to take advantage of you. Maybe they're just, you know, a novice, and, like, you know, they're looking at you as somebody who they're inspired by, who has done it, who's paving the way, and, like, hey, who better to talk to, you know? And I think men do that all the time. They do it at golf courses, right? Like, they have their little guys clubs. So, like, we need to do more of that for each other, which is why this thing is so awesome.
It's called a Fem Think Tank.
Right.
Exactly. When I had my daughter 2 years ago, she became my new inspiration. If I look at you, I'm going to cry, so it's we got a little
having men sit across the table from me and say, you know, like, how are you going to do this job? You have a child. And me being like, but that's why I'm going back to work, because I do have a daughter, and I have a daughter who I want her to be able to look back and say, my mom's a badass. She had her. And that was really important to me, to have a daughter who knew that, you know, I still loved her and I was there for everything, but that I also had to have my own life and something that like I could dedicate myself to and that I could be really passionate about. And so, I mean, every day when I come home, it's like the best thing to have a terrible day and have my daughter run up to me and say, Mommy, Mommy, I like your dress, it's cute. You know, like, and it's something so simple, but it's like, you know, it really motivates me, and it makes me proud. Like, I'm so proud to have a daughter, and I'm so proud to have a daughter in a day like, in this day and age where I know that, like, even though there's that glass ceiling, like, I'm gonna bust through it and she's gonna bust through it. You know, like, that to me is so incredible. And so, yes, those are my two. They just keep me going. And I mean, like everyone, I feel so blessed. I feel very, very lucky. But I'd say very much it's my dad and my daughter.
A couple of years ago, my mom got really sick. She had a rare thyroid disease, still has, you know, parts of she can't even, like, you know, I have to pick up her hair in a ponytail every night. I have to cut up her food. Like she's a child, and it's really, I became her primary caretaker about 3 years ago, and for me that was, nothing prepares you to be your parent's caretaker and to see their bodies sort of like demise in front of you. And every day I look at her and I'm like, this could be me, and that makes life seem so fragile. And my mom and I actually came to this country when I was 3 years old from Cuba, so again, she's been a huge inspiration because, you know, she came to this country by herself, not knowing the language, not knowing anyone, with a child in tow, which is me, and because of that I've had so many advantages, and I've been able to do so many things that she never got the chance to do. And my brother, who was 12 years older, didn't come with us at the time, so he came on a raft from Cuba. You know, like, he built a raft on the ceiling of his house at the time, and him and 6 other guys, like, traversed 90 miles to get here. So whenever I think I'm having a tough day, I'm like, who the hell am I? You know, like, I've had all these privileges. I'm the one that got to go to college, that got to get a master's, who had the fancy corporate job that no one else in the family has had. So how dare I complain, you know? So when I look to those 2 people in my life, like, it really is humbling, and it helps to make sure that I don't keep getting in my own way, and that I do what I need to do to, you know, empower other people and live my best life, because they've sacrificed so many things for us and for other people in our family.
Yeah, I think I would have to say my mom as well. She's like, my mom has worked, oh my God, 3 jobs since I was little. And like her work ethic, man, I mean, everyone says like their mom works the most, whatever, but I have never seen anyone work like my mom. And she just taught, what's most important to me is she taught me, you know, how to just command your space and how to demand what you want and how you don't leave a room until you get it. And you know, when I first started photography, like, I dropped out of school, and she said, I'm going to give you a year, you know, and if it works out, it works out, and if not, you have to go back to school. And the first year it didn't work out, and I was like, I don't want to go back to school, I hate it. And she was like, you know, my dad was like not trying to hear it, and he was like, this is a deal that we made, you have to go back to school. And my mom was like, we're going to give her a little bit more time, you know, so she's always pushed for me. She's always like, whenever I'm like in a magazine or whatever, one of my photos is in there, she like goes to Barnes & Noble and buys the entire rack. She's a nurse, so she'll go to the hospital and she'll like hand them to everyone. My daughter took this picture. I bought for her birthday, I bought her a bag, and like she went and exchanged it, and she was like, how am I gonna put all the magazines in the bag? She literally just drives around with like all of my work. You know, and yeah, and what I love the most about her is that she's so open-minded, and she taught me to be open-minded, because, you know, my parents are both immigrants, and my mom came here super young. You know, she was pregnant with me, which I just learned the other day. She was pregnant with me when she came here. And my mom is one of 13. They all came here together. They all like grew up in the same room in a very small home. And so like their dream was for me to go to college and, you know, be the first one in my family to do that. And when I didn't do that, but I'm like, I was so disappointed in myself. And she was like, no, like this is what you want to do. We completely support it. Go ahead and do it. But, you know, with that came challenges, and that's when she taught me to be open-minded. I was like, well, Mom, like I don't have to go to school to be successful. And she was like, okay, prove it to me. Like, and she challenged me, you know, still being a mom, but also, you know, just kind of like, all right, well, I'm gonna give you another chance. I'm gonna give you. She gave me so many chances, you know. And as like humans, we fail so many times, and we feel so undeserving. But she just taught me to be accepting, you know, open-minded, and just work. Like my mom works her ass off, and I'm just like, if I could have like, just a quarter of the work ethic that she has, I'll be so happy. And then the second person is not a family member, but I don't know if you guys follow Jen Gotch on Instagram. She is the owner of Bando, Shop Bando. She's no longer what I found out actually the other day is that she's no longer the owner. She sold the company, but she's a creative chief officer or something like that. And she is just like, she is a lady hustler that like, she's my favorite human ever that I don't know. Like we message back and forth sometimes because I'm just like, I love you and I hope you're having a great day. But she, you know, she talks like she just became successful recently. She's 50, I think, or something like that, or like really late 40s. And you know, like you don't think that, like you see Bando, it's in Paper Source, it's in Barnes and Noble, it's in all these companies, and you're like, oh my god, like it's because like you know they've been around for forever and yada yada yada. But she talks about so much, she gives so much information, which is like why I like to do Instagram lives and give information, and like I love to give information in my posts because a lot of the information that she's given has been for free, and like I've benefited from it. She's bipolar. And she talks a lot about her anxiety and depression. Like sometimes she'll like be on Instagram just like sobbing. She'll be like, I don't know that I can run this company anymore, guys. And that vulnerability like has helped me so much. And because of her being vulnerable, because of her speaking out, and I've been following her since she was like a Polaroid photographer when I was like in high school. She like because of that, like I was like, okay, I can start a business. Like I can do this, I can do that, and I can also be a human being. And so that's like, if you guys don't follow her, I think you would love her. Her name is Jen Gotch.
Okay, cool. So I think we're going to be wrapping up. Any last, wait.
What was yours today?
So for me, I would say my dad was my biggest inspiration. And my dad had a muscle disease that was, you know, life-threatening, and it was in and out of hospitals year in and year out. Although I cannot say I was his caregiver, I cannot even imagine. Just seeing someone you love that much kind of go through that is really hard. And my parents, like I'm sure actually all of you, and maybe many of you, my parents came here also, you know, from another country. And you know, it's interesting, I just always remember my dad telling me, like, you need to do what you need to do, but I'm not going to tell you what you need to do, I'm going to show you. So my dad, you know, went to school, went to college, graduated, became an accountant, everything you want from migrating to this country, you know? And he would always tell me, and so I went into finance because I was like, I want to be like my dad. Truthfully, Dad, sorry, but I don't want to be like you. No, at that point, but like, you know, I really, you know, was like, okay, he taught me by example, and so I'm going to teach him that like I can do it too. My mother, who is the strongest woman I know, she had to take care of my father for literally 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for like, I don't know, 15 years, was like, get it together. Like, what do you want to do? Like, life is short. My dad died at 62, so it was like, you need to do what you love. And literally, I'm not even kidding, like, I think it was 12 days after my dad passed was the first time, like the first step that I did, that me and my husband sat down. He was my husband at that point, registered Endlessly Elated. It was like, I'm going to put all my work in and I'm going to do it. And so that was my good morning. I did the ugly cry, ladies. So first and foremost, I want to just thank, you know, our sponsors. Honestly, guys, this is a passion project. As you obviously all know, it was a free event, and part of it was because I wanted to give back to the community that supports me so much.
I can't even begin. But so I just want to thank, you know, the Grand Cortage who gave us our little bubbly. It's also a woman-owned business, so more power to them. You know, Hudson Table for the beautiful space. My friend, which we have to do raffles before we go, don't think you're leaving just yet. My friend Saida, who created something called the Meaningful Growth Planner, which will totally get you organized for your businesses. She gave us 6, so we're gonna raffle them away. My amazing Helen, who styled this entire event. Tommy's gonna do a good job, right? These amazing ladies that literally, when I thought of this event, I swear on everything, I literally, you were the first 3 people to pop up in my head. I'm not even kidding. I was nervous to ask them. I took one out to brunch. I was like, oh my God, do I talk to Nick, you know? So thank you so, so much. And like I said in my little things, really thank you for helping me grow, because this is helping me grow, so I really, really appreciate it. My husband. Woo! I kid you not, I walk into my apartment at least 4 times a week with a new idea, and he always has the patience of God to be like, okay, let's do this, what do I need to do? And he has a full-time, a lot of people think we like work together, and he's on a full-time job. He has 2 companies he owns, so he's very busy. So babe, honestly, thank you so much for everything that you do, and just so supportive. And then lastly, you guys. And this is where I'm gonna try and not cry. If you would have told me literally last year that I was gonna quit my corporate America job after making so many excuses after my dad passed away, I would have been like, you're crazy. If you would have told me that I was gonna, you know, create these kinds of defining moments for myself, for you guys, I would have said you were crazy. And you know, like my dad always said, is believe in yourself. So this year, I you know, took those words seriously, and I made them not just talk. So I officially will be ending my corporate America career, which has been amazing to me, but it's time to be the woman that I think I want to be for the rest of my life. So thank you for inspiring me, for supporting me, for DMing me, for everything that you do, for being here. I mean, I hope that you're just as inspired from hearing from these amazing ladies as I am. So thank you so much. And so before we go, I wanted to raise a glass to us, to powerful girl bosses who are gonna walk out of this damn place, strut in their beautiful shoes, because I see 90% of you have heels on, all the way to success. And I honestly mean, I hope nothing more than eventually I get to see all of you and what you all have done, and be actually able to say that I know you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Cheers.
I loved it. It was empowering. It was inspiring. And I feel like motivated to keep doing what I do.
I thought it was amazing. It was amazing. It was powerful. Women together. Loved it.
It was great. It was amazing. It was purposeful. That's what we're talking about.
There were so many gems dropped today as far as how to build a brand, how to build your business, and how to network and effectively meet people and create connections. And I feel like I've made so many connections today with really amazing people.
Do my thing, they just wanna hate on everything I do, but I came right through and made them all bounce like a kangaroo, like a kangaroo. All of these leeches, all of these parasites, got me laying real low like I'm scared of heights. I don't wanna be your buddy, I don't wanna share advice. You just trying to slow me down. I am retro 3s, you a pair of flights. If you can't feel this, then you paralyzed. Walk around like we own this place, like we own this place. We walk around like we own this place, like we own this place. We look around like we on our way, like we on our way. Don't worry about us, cause we on our way.